Snow fell like ash from a dead sky. The wind cried through the broken mountains, and nothing moved but the storm itself. In the middle of that frozen world, a figure stumbled across the ice, small and shaking. It was a woman, not human, but closer. Skin pale violet, her hair long and silver, tangled with snow and blood, she held something close to her chest. Hidden inside a torn blanket, a baby, silent and still. Her feet were bare, cut and bleeding, but she did not stop. She looked up once, eyes glowing faintly in the dark, searching, hoping, but all around her was white and cold. Only snow, only silence. She whispered something in her alien tongue. A lullaby, maybe, soft and sad. Then her knees gave out and she dropped into the snow. Gasping, she pulled the baby closer to her chest, her breath coming in clouds of steam. The child did not move, not even a cry. She looked at the baby's face blue. Lips, cold skin, no. She whispered, "Please, not yet." Her tears froze as they fell. Turning to tiny crystals on her cheeks, she rocked gently, cradling the child, trying to share her warmth. She began to sing. Though her voice was weak and shaking, a soft, trembling song that echoed into the storm, the same lullaby her mother once sang to her long ago on a planet that no longer welcomed her. As she sang, she felt her body grow numb. She could not feel her fingers, her legs, even her voice grew thin. But she kept singing, her face close to the baby's. She closed her eyes and whispered the last line of the song. Then she heard a sound that did not belong to the wind. Footsteps, heavy, slow, steady, crunching through the snow behind. She froze, her body weak, her instincts screaming. Her eyes snapped open. Glowing faintly in the dark, someone was there, just beyond the white curtain of the storm. She turned her head slowly, fear in her chest like fire. At first, she saw only shadows, then a shape tall broad, wrapped in heavy clothes, a hood over the face, a long coat flapping in the wind. The figure held a glowing lantern, casting a warm golden light in the freezing air. The light fell on her and the baby, revealing her broken form in the snow. The figure stopped, silent, for a long moment. Neither moved. Then the figure stepped closer. She gasped and pulled the child close again, her voice weak. "Stay away." But the figure dropped to one knee. Slowly, carefully, he took off the thick gloves, revealing calloused human hands. He reached into his coat and pulled out something, his own thick, fur-lined jacket. Without a word, he wrapped it around the baby. The warmth was instant, like a soft fire touching her skin. The baby twitched, a soft breath escaped its lips. Her eyes filled with tears again, but these did not freeze. She looked up at the man. Yes, he was a man, a human. His face was rough, bearded, eyes sharp but not cruel. He said nothing, just looked at her, then at the baby. Then he stood up and motioned for her to follow. She hesitated, her legs weak, her body broken. But she could not let the baby die. So she forced herself to stand, trembling, clutching the child close. The man turned and began walking. Slow but steady, she followed, step by step, through the snow, behind them. Her footprints filled with falling snow, and the storm howled louder, as if trying to chase them down. They walked for what felt like forever. Then, through the white curtain, a shape appeared, a cabin, wooden, old, but with a soft orange light glowing inside. The man reached the door, opened it, and stepped aside. She walked in, almost falling again, her knees giving up. The warmth hit her like a wave, fire. Crackling light dancing on the walls, she fell to her knees again. But this time, it was from relief. The man closed the door behind them, shutting the storm outside. She looked at him, breathing hard. He kneeled beside her again, and for the first time, he spoke. His voice was low, rough, but kind. "You're safe now," he said. and for the first time in days, she believed it might be true. The warmth of the cabin wrapped around her like a dream, but her body couldn't stop shaking. She sat on the wooden floor, too weak to stand, the baby still in her arms. The human knelt by the fire, feeding it fresh wood, never looking at her with fear or hate. Just calm, steady movements, like this wasn't the first time he had saved someone from the cold. She watched him carefully, her body tense, her mind spinning with questions. Why was a human here, alone? In the snowfields of a world known for death and silence, he didn't speak much, only pointed at a blanket, then at a pot warming over the fire. Steam rose from it, filling the room with a strange but soothing scent. She pulled the baby closer, checking again. The child's tiny chest rose and fell, still weak, but breathing. Her hands trembled as she reached for the thick blanket and wrapped it around both of them. The man came closer with a small bowl of warm broth. He offered it, not pushing, not rushing, just holding it out in silence. She hesitated, then took it slowly, sipping, letting the warmth travel down her throat. Her voice was still, thin when she spoke. "Why help me?" The man looked at her, then at the child, and answered with just 2 words. "No one else." She lowered her eyes, her fingers tightening around the bowl. There had been no one else, not since the day they started hunting her, not since her people turned their backs on her for giving birth to a child with forbidden blood. She tried to forget that day, but the memory always came back, burning like ice. As the fire crackled, she tried to speak again, slower this time, searching for words he might understand. "Baby, hunted," she whispered. "Me?" "Run long time." The man listened, his face unreadable. Only his eyes showed something understanding, maybe even pain. He leaned back and opened a metal chest in the corner. Inside were tools, strange objects, and a black device with blinking lights. He took it out, pressed something, and it began to hum softly. Then a calm voice echoed in her own tongue. Translation mode activated. She stared at him, shocked, her fingers clenching the blanket. He just gave a tired smile and said, "Makes talking easier." The translator repeated it in her language, clean and clear. She had no more strength to hide, so she spoke, slowly, broken at first, then clearer. "My people. They want the baby dead." The man's face hardened, but he didn't interrupt. "She is born from 2 bloods, forbidden, not allowed. So they chase, they send hunters." She paused, her voice shaking. "They kill all like her. No mercy, not even for babies." The man looked at the child, who had fallen into a quiet sleep in her arms. He said nothing for a long time, only poked the fire again, letting sparks rise to the ceiling. Then he spoke softly. "I've seen that before." She blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" He unzipped his thick coat, then pulled down the collar of his shirt. There, on his chest, was a Skara glowing symbol etched into his skin, just like the one on her child's back. Her breath caught. "You? Marked?" He nodded. "Long ago, when I was caught in a war, I didn't understand. They tried to kill me too, said I was a threat to the order." The room fell silent. The only sound the wind outside, scratching against the walls like claws. Then she whispered, "Why did you save us?" He didn't answer right away, just looked at the child. "Because no one saved me," he said at last, "but I survived anyway." The fire burned lower as the night dragged on. She leaned her head against the wall, exhausted, her body no longer able to fight. Before her eyes closed, she said one last thing. "My name is Arali." The man nodded, voice deep and quiet. "Evan." He stood up and checked the door, locking it, then sat with his back to it, rifle across his lap. Outside, something howled in the wind, far off but closing in, and as Arali drifted into sleep, she didn't see Evan's eyes stay open, sharp and alert. He knew the storm wasn't the only thing coming for them. The wind slammed against the cabin all night, but inside, it stayed warm. Arali woke to the sound of the baby breathing steadily, her skin no longer cold for the first time in days. Her chest didn't feel like it was full of knives. But when she looked around, Evan was gone. She sat up quickly. Alarm flashing in her eyes, the baby shifted in her arms, murmuring softly. Before panic could take over, the cabin door creaked open. Evan stepped inside, covered in snow, boots soaked. Rifle slung over his shoulder, he didn't speak right away. Just closed the door and stomped the snow off. Then he looked at her. Serious, focused. "Tracks," he said, voice low, 2 of them, wide-set, recent. Arali's breath caught. "They found us." Evan didn't answer. But the way he double-checked the locks said enough. He moved to a storage panel near the floor, opening it to reveal supplies, tools, grenades. A comms device with a cracked screen. She watched him work, realizing just how prepared this man was, not just for the cold, but for war. He finally looked back at her. "They're not far, maybe half a day behind." Arali stood slowly, holding the baby close. Her legs still weak. "We have to run," she said, but he shook his head, too late for that. "Snow's too deep now, and you're not strong enough." She gritted her teeth. "I can fight." He raised an eyebrow. Then tossed her a small stun pistol from a shelf. It was old but charged. "Then you'd better be ready," he said. "They won't knock next time," while Evan secured the outer walls with metal plating. Arali moved to the fire and checked the child's mark. The glowing pattern on the baby's back pulsed gently. Like a heartbeat, it wasn't just a birthmark. It was something else, something the old scientists on her homeworld feared. She still didn't understand why, but they called her baby the Spark. The storm outside softened by midday. But tension inside the cabin only grew. Every creak of the wood made Arali flinch. Every gust of wind sounded like a footstep. She remembered the last time they caught her. They didn't talk, they didn't give warning. They just fired. She didn't know how she escaped that night, only that she woke covered in ash, her baby crying under her chest. Now, as the sun vanished again behind heavy clouds, Evan spoke. "They'll come at night when visibility is lowest." Arali nodded, already holding the stun pistol tight in her hand. Later, Evan laid out a map drawn on old parchment, marked with alien symbols and crude human writing. "Nearest outpost is 17 clicks west," he said. "Abandoned, but may have medical stock. Maybe even shelter." Arali looked at her baby, whose breathing was shallow again. "We'll need to reach it," she said. "If she's to live through the week." Evan didn't argue, only circled the route with his finger. "But first," he said, "we have to survive tonight." Night came like a hunter, cold and quiet. No birds, no wind, just stillness. Arali stood by the window, pistol ready, while Evan watched the door with his rifle in hand. They didn't speak, didn't blink much, just waited. Then it happened. A faint buzz, then silence. A soft metallic click echoed outside the cabin, followed by another, and then another. They were surrounding the cabin. Arali's heart pounded. Evan took a deep breath and muttered, "Here we go." A loud crash shattered the back wall as something slammed against it. Smoke filled the room, followed by a sharp, buzzing drone. Evan fired first clean shot. One drone down, Arali crouched near the child, eyes scanning the room. Then one of the bounty hunters stepped through the broken wall, tall, armored in dark steel, face hidden behind a glowing visor. "Give her up," the voice said, cold and robotic. "And you walk away." Arali stood slowly, her hand shaking but raised, pistol pointed straight. "She's not yours," she said. The hunter took one step closer. Evan's rifle hummed. "Try it," he growled. "See how far you get." The next moment was chaos, blaster fire, sparks, smoke, but even as the battle raged, the baby didn't cry. She glowed softly, steadily. A light that filled the room from within the blanket, and though no one saw it yet, something ancient had just awakened. Asterisk smoke filled the cabin, thick and bitter. Arali coughed, holding the baby tight as she crawled behind a broken table. Sparks rained from the ceiling where a drone's body hung. Still twitching, Evan rolled beside her, blood running down his arm. But his grip on the rifle never loosened. "We have to move," he said, voice sharp through the chaos. She nodded, not needing translation. A second hunter entered through the broken door, bulkier, with a metal jaw and a crackling energy blade in hand. Evan didn't wait. He fired 2 precise shots, one to the chest, one to the knee. The creature dropped, groaning, metal hissing, but Arali wasn't looking at the hunter anymore. She was staring at the baby, whose tiny body glowed brighter now, the strange mark on her back pulsing like a living flame. The air around the child shimmered, and the sound, something deep, like a low hum in her bones, grew louder. Evan noticed it too, eyes wide. "What is she?" he asked, breathless. Arali shook her head. "I don't know. They called her a curse, a spark that breaks balance. I didn't believe them, outside." Footsteps circled the cabin again, more enemies, but the baby, still glowing, opened her eyes. And for a split second, time seemed to stop. The last bounty hunter, silent, quickly pleeped through the shattered wall. Blade raised high, but before Evan or Arali could react, the air around the baby pulsed outward. A shockwave, silent but powerful, exploded from her body, everything metallic. In the room, gun's armor, drones froze midair, suspended in a glowing blue haze. The hunter's body stopped in place, eyes wide in shock as his limbs locked up. Then, slowly, everything dropped. The hunter collapsed, unconscious, armor cracked. Evan lowered his weapon, stunned. "What the hell was that?" Arali whispered. "She saved us." She reached out and touched the baby's cheek, her fingers trembling. The glow faded slowly, and the child fell into sleep again. Exhausted, Evan stood and moved to the window. Watching the horizon, nothing moved. No drones, no hunters, just snow falling silently again. He turned back, eyes heavy with thought. "We can't stay. Here they'll send more, stronger ones." Arali nodded, rocking the baby gently. "Then we run to the outpost." He checked his gear, pulling out a small power core and snapping it into his rifle. Then he reached into a side pouch and handed Arali a glowing vial. Medgel, for the baby, might help her recover faster. She took it with both hands, whispering something in her own language, a word of thanks. Heavy with emotion as they packed what little they could carry, Evan asked quietly, "Your people feared her power, but didn't try to understand it." Arali looked down, her voice soft. "They feared change. Her father was from a caste above. Mine, a crime punishable by death. They saw the baby as a rebellion, not a life." Evan paused, then pulled down the collar of his coat. There was the glowing scar, again the same mark the child carried. "I've seen this symbol before," he said, "years ago, in the ruins of Titan 4, a wall covered in the same light and a message. About a child who would shift the stars." Arali stared at him, heart racing. "You think?" "She's that child." "I don't know," he replied. "But if they want her this badly, she's more important than either of us imagined." Snow howled again as they stepped out into the morning cold. Behind them, the cabin smoked and sparked. Now just a broken shelter ahead lay miles of frozen land, mountains, and the outpost, old, forgotten, but their only hope, Evan carried. Supplies on his back, rifle ready, Arali carried the baby close to her chest. Wrapped in both their coats, they didn't speak much, only moved forward, side by side and deep beneath the baby's skin. The mark pulsed once more, brighter than before, as if something inside her had just begun to awaken. The snow stretched on forever, flat and white like a blank page. Evan moved first, eyes sharp, boots crunching softly with each step. Arali followed behind, her arms wrapped tightly around the baby, who hadn't stirred since the power pulse. Their breath floated like mist in the freezing air, and the wind bit through even their thickest coats. Hours passed with only the sound of their footsteps and the distant echo of ice cracking beneath hidden lakes. No drones followed, no hunters, no lights in the sky. But both of them felt it something was watching. Not close, but not far enough to ignore. Evan kept glancing over his shoulder, his grip never far from his rifle. Arlie's legs were shaking, not from fear, but from exhaustion. Still, she didn't stop, not while her child breathed. The baby's skin glowed faintly now, a soft warmth that kept them both from freezing completely. It was like the child's body had learned the cold and rejected it by dusk. The outpost was finally in sight, a shadowy shape on the edge of a jagged cliff, half covered in snow and ice. Evan raised a hand to signal her to stop. "Smoke," he whispered, pointing to the old communication tower. There was a thin trail rising from behind it. Someone was already there. He crouched and took out his field scope. Glass cracked, but still usable. After a long moment, he muttered, "2 figures. Maybe 3. No uniforms, no signals." Arali's voice was low. "Could be scavengers. Could be worse," he replied. "We go slow, quiet." They moved toward the side path. Climbing the slope behind the outpost, loose snow made the climb slippery, and Arali stumbled once. Nearly falling, Evan reached out quickly, catching her wrist. He didn't say anything, just helped her up, then nodded. They kept going, one step at a time, at the top. They found an old maintenance hatch, half buried but still intact. Evan pried it open with a silent grunt, then motioned for her to go first. Inside, the metal tunnel was cold and rusted, but dry. They moved slowly through the dark, the only light coming from the soft glow of the baby's skin. After several minutes, they reached the inner chamber, once a control room, now a ruined shell. Old screens blinked randomly, and wires hung like vines. But there was power, weak but alive. Evan turned on one of the old consoles, and the screen buzzed to life. "This could help," he said. "Might still be connected to old med labs." He tapped in a few commands, slow and careful behind them. The baby made a small sound, not a cry, more like a hum. Arlie looked down, alarmed. "She's heating up." Evan checked the baby's skin. It was glowing stronger now, the mark on her back flaring with golden light. Then, suddenly, the console beeped and a strange symbol flashed across the screen. Not human language, not alien either, but a spiral, pulsing in rhythm with the baby's breathing. The same spiral that once appeared on Evan's chest years ago. He froze, staring at it. "I've seen this before," he whispered. This mark was on the ruins. Before they exploded, Arali's voice trembled. "What does it mean?" Evan didn't answer, because a sound outside the hatch cut through everything. Footsteps, deliberate, heavy voices, muffled by helmets but sharp with command. "They found us," he said. Grabbing his rifle, he turned to Arali, his voice calm but firm. "Take the baby and hide, now." She looked at him, wide-eyed. "What about you?" He gave a small, tired smile. "I'm just the distraction." Before she could stop him, he slipped out the hatch with silent steps, rifle ready, the moment he vanished. Arali turned and ran deeper into the outpost, into the forgotten tunnels where even the walls had memories. The baby pulsed brighter now, her glow casting long shadows across the walls. Arali whispered softly, "Little light, stay quiet." But the child's glow began to twist, shifting from warm gold to sharp blue. The humming grew louder, the mark on her back spinning like a beacon. Then, from far above, something answered. A deep metallic sound echoed through the mountain range, shaking the ground itself. Something ancient had heard the call, and it was waking up. Evan moved through the snow like a ghost. His breath came slow, his rifle steady, his boots quiet. Over the ice-crusted ground, he could see them no three figures near the tower. Armored in black, faces hidden behind cold masks. They weren't scavengers, not survivors. These were hunters, elite ones, the kind who didn't talk, only kill. Evan didn't run. He stood tall, raising his weapon, then fired the first shot. The blast cracked through the air, hitting one in the shoulder, spinning him to the ground. The others turned, shocked, but Evan didn't give them time to aim. He moved behind cover, drawing their fire away from the tunnel where Arali and the baby were hidden. Smoke burst around him, snow flying as he ducked behind a shattered metal crate. Returned fire screamed overhead, but he kept their attention on him. That was all that mattered, buying her time. Inside the tunnels, Arali clutched the baby to her chest as the outpost rumbled around her. The mark on the child's back now glowed like a star, blue and gold swirling together. The light grew stronger, painting the walls with symbols that hadn't been seen in 1,000 years. Then the air changed. A hum filled the chamber, rising like a song from deep underground. Panels on the wall flickered to life. Ancient machines awakening, systems long dead now glowing once more. Arali stepped back as a large circular platform emerged from the floor. She didn't understand what it was, but the baby reached for it. The child's hand barely touched the metal when the platform lit up with blinding light. Arali covered her eyes, and when she looked again, a figure stood in the center of the platform. It was made of light and shadow, not alive, not dead just. There, a projection, a memory, a guardian. The figure spoke. Not in words, but in thoughts. The child of balance has awakened. It said in her mind, calm and deep, she carries the key to the old code, to the locked gates of the forgotten. Worlds Arail shook her head, stepping forward. What do you want from her? The figure turned, its glowing eyes landing on the baby. She must survive, it said. The blood in her veins is the last thread between this galaxy and extinction. Outside, Evan had run out of cover. A sharp blast hit his shoulder, spinning him hard into the snow. He cried out, but kept crawling, kept firing, kept breathing. One hunter moved in close, blade drawn, silent as death. Just as he raised the weapon for a final strike, the snow exploded beneath them. A wave of light burst from the ground, tearing through the cold like fire. It came from the outpost, pure energy, ancient and alive. The hunter froze, mid-swing, as the light lifted him off the ground and threw him backward like a rag doll. Evan looked up through blurry vision and saw her. Arali stood at the edge of the cliff above, holding the child. The baby's eyes were open, glowing brighter than the sun. The mark on her back now stretched across her entire spine. Alive with pulsing symbols, behind Arali, the ancient platform hovered, still humming. The guardian's voice echoed one last time. You must go to the cradle before they find it first. Arali nodded once, heart pounding, then she called down. To Evan, her voice strong despite the wind. We leave now. Evan pushed himself up, blood soaking his coat. He didn't argue, didn't hesitate, just followed her back toward the light. And far above, in the black void of orbit, something stirred. A ship, massive and silent, turned its eye toward the surface. The hunters had failed, but their masters had not forgotten the prophecy. The spark had returned, and the galaxy was about to burn or be reborn. The mountain winds screamed as the final storm rolled across the sky. But Arali didn't stop. She stood at the cliff's edge with the child in her arms, eyes locked on the sky. The ancient platform behind her pulsed with energy, glowing brighter. With each heartbeat from the baby, Evan limped beside her, one arm bandaged. His coat torn and stained, he stared upward, jaw clenched. As clouds split open to reveal the thing they both feared, a massive ship, black and silent, descending through. The clouds like a falling god. Its engines made no sound, but its presence crushed the air around them. "They're not sending hunters this time," Evan said, voice low. "No," Arali answered. "They're sending judgment." The baby stirred in her arms, eyes half open, glowing with soft blue light, the mark on her back now fully bloomed. Into a spiral of symbols, ancient, shifting, alive, the platform began to hum again. The tone deeper now, like it recognized what was coming. Then the guardian's voice returned calm, but urgent. "The gate is open," it echoed in both their minds. "You must enter now, or all will be lost." Arali looked down at the baby, then at Evan. "But what's inside?" she asked. "What is the cradle?" the guardian replied. "A sanctuary, a seed of everything that was and everything that must be. She is the key. Only through her can it begin again above them." The ship's underside cracked open, revealing a chamber of swirling darkness and light. And from it, figures began to descend, silent beings in silver armor, untouched by time. Evan raised his rifle, though he knew it wouldn't matter. "I've got your back," he said. "Go." Arali stepped onto the platform, the baby in her arms growing brighter with every step. The ground shook beneath them as the first of the silver soldiers landed nearby. Evan opened fire, his shots echoing like thunder. He didn't care that they wouldn't fall. He just had to buy her one more moment. The platform responded, rising into the air. Surrounded by light and ancient energy, Arali looked down one last time, tears on her cheeks. Evan met her eyes and nodded. No words needed. Then the light wrapped around her completely. The soldiers turned too late in a blinding flash. The platform vanished, gone in a ripple of soundless force. The soldiers stopped, confused, scanning the area. But the spark was already beyond their reach, deep beneath the frozen surface, in a place no map remembered. The platform reappeared in a chamber of crystal and living metal. Arali stood in silence, the baby still glowing in her arms. Lights around them lit up, each one responding to the child's heartbeat. Then the voice returned. Not the guardian this time, but something older. "Welcome, bearer of the balance," it said. "The future begins now." Back on the surface, Evan dropped to his knees, exhausted and bleeding. The soldiers surrounded him. Weapons ready, he didn't move, just smiled. "You're too late," he whispered. "She's already gone." The sky above him cracked with sudden light as the cradle's power awoke for the first time in centuries. A beam of gold tore through the clouds, pulsing across the stars like a message. From that moment forward, every system across the galaxy felt it. Something new had entered the stream of time, something pure, dangerous, and full of hope. And high above, in the silence of space, a new star blinked into existence. The spark had survived, and humanity had stood by her side.